Every position I got a diamond at. But if I'm not getting a Mushu, you ain't getting a Jeremy. What?
I feel like a young Nomar.
Write to us. We're very friendly. Much love. I like you here, man. You did me dirty.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Going Deep with Matthew and Jeremy. Unfortunately, Matthew won't be with us tonight. However, I have an even better co-host with me tonight. Special guest, Rob Staggenborg. If you haven't seen him yet, he is also with Sports Bums, as are we. Going Deep with Matthew and Jeremy, brought to you guys by sportbums.com. Rob is a writer, blogger, podcaster, and analyst. I don't know how he does all four, but he manages to do all for the NHL Hockey League. Not like I said, not only does he do Sports Bum, but he has his own side project, rinksidemedia.com, where you can find all your NHL info there. He also does the Blue Note Fan Report, focusing on the St. Louis Blues, and is also a blogger for the stlouisfanreport.com, and last but not least, hockeywriters.com, where he covers the Blues as well. Rob, I got to ask you before we even get into this, how in the world do you do all these different projects? When do you have time for this?
Well, I'll tell you what, I enjoy being here, and I love just connecting with you guys, especially you guys down in SoCal. It's my favorite part of the United States. So where I find time with it is that I have a wife and I have kids, and they are very much not into hockey and not really even into sports. So while they're binge watching on Bridgerton or whatever the kids show of the month is, I have some time to just kind of kick it around for hockey, and that's something I enjoy. I've always been a fan. I can't ever say I played the game. I can't even skate. But the thing is, I enjoy the competition. I love the fierceness, and I just love that really the storylines in hockey are unlike any other sport, really kind of like the NBA to an extent, but storylines are always really big in hockey, and I just love to be able to write about them and share it with you guys and your audience with Sport Bums.
Well, definitely with Sports Bum, I've seen it. I've said on here a couple of times already, I'm not the biggest hockey guy. I enjoy being there. I enjoy watching. Sometimes the rules go over my head, but I just enjoy it. I love the physicality of the sport. I love the beauty of the passing and different things like that go into it. But I've been reading these articles on Sports Bums, which you could probably tell me a little bit more about right afterwards. And like I said, as not a big hockey person, they are perfect for those people that are like seeing it, like watching it. I guess you could say more mainstream hockey or whatever you want to say. It's an overview, which really allows people that aren't too big in hockey to kind of understand and slowly get into it more and more. Like you said, I'm here in SoCal. I'm here in LA. We have the Kings, repping the Kings jersey today. I would say it's not the biggest thing, but I've noticed in Orange County, where is actually where I live, it's a bigger thing where we have the Ducks and different stuff that's going on. You go into the Orange County area, they know their hockey, and I think little by little, hockey is really growing here in California. Just really quick, can you kind of give me an overview on the two articles you put out on Sports Bums?
Sure. I love that you say that, because I think that the reason why I like to write about this stuff is because I am not a hockey geek. Like, I don't get so sucked into these stats where I could tell you the third line center for the Buffalo Sabres of 1983. Like, that's not me, and I kind of feel like I'm like you. There's a lot of fans who aren't to that level, and they just like to watch the games, and they're into it, and they get it. So I've definitely seen there's a division in really North America between this hardcore hockey fan and, hey, we know everything, no one can be smarter than us. And there's guys like you and me who just like to watch a good game. Like, hey man, it's a Tuesday night. The Canucks are playing the Flames. Let's go watch it. There's nothing else going on, and you kind of start getting into the game that way. So for me, it's always been important to number one, don't act like you're bigger than the game, or number two, bigger than the fan, because the fans are the ones that feed the whole thing. So my articles for Sport Bum have really been, to me, I've really enjoyed writing them because they're not so micro level and stats and GAA and Corsi and Fenwick and all this blah, blah, blah. because hockey is a game of stats. You could be overwhelmed with stats. But I'll tell you, the thing that I really liked about for Sport Bum is to be able to bring the game into like just normal. Couple guys around a bar sitting around talking about the games.
Yes.
Like, who are the teams to watch? Don't let me mess around with the Buffalo Sabres. They're no good. They're terrible. So don't even talk to me about that. Who do I need to pay attention to? Like, for me to go into a conversation with my buddies or my brother-in-law at a barbecue, give me some stuff I need to know. And that's what I try to do with my articles. So I hope everybody enjoyed them. Again, I enjoyed writing them. That's my kind of writing. I really enjoy that.
I'm happy you did. So I've gotten feedback from it. Your 2 posts have been one of the higher read articles on the actual website, which is really good. It got a lot of good feedback, whether it's people from the outside or people in my kind of circle that text me or whatever it might be. Wow, great article. And I know I haven't been able to pass it over to you. Really enjoyed reading it. Very simple, very easy. So I think you've hit it on the nail right there.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys like me, that fuels my spirit. So, boy, when I hear that, it does make me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm not just a guy doing this from my dining room table in the middle of America somewhere. It feels like I'm actually making an impact. Because the fact is I'm kind of tired of the media being like really arrogant and acting like they're just so much smarter than the average American. And in hockey, it's terrible. It's just like let everybody enjoy the game. Everybody enjoys hockey, And I'm a military veteran. I know a lot of veterans guys love hockey. They deal with some of their own issues by playing hockey. So, hockey's not always about fights and bloods and guts, but it's a good sport to watch. You can kind of check in on it. There's a lot of games. There's 82 games in the normal year. It's hard to keep up with a team that many nights. They're playing on Tuesday night in like freaking, Minnesota, or they're playing like a, Thursday night in, some other godforsaken, Alberta or something. I get it. It's not really high watch, high stakes. But once you get to the playoffs, teams, you really sort the wheat from the chaff, start seeing some players. And, the great thing about this year's playoffs is there's a lot of players who are playing for contracts. And these will be names that you guys will be reading about in a couple months. Wow, that guy got a $14 million contract or $8 million contract. So I do think, these guys are playing for that big money. And I just want to make sure fans kind of know who to look for and kind of who to kind of storylines to kind of keep an eye on.
And I think that's all we can really ask for. You kind of mentioned your military. What kind of led you to hockey? What led you to writing? What was your path to this point?
So I like to tell the story because, number one, there's no hiding that my voice is ignorant and it fits in people's face. And people are like, what is this guy's voice? But so when I was 18 years old, I was really into like rock and roll. I really wanted to be a DJ. I really thought I had it. I liked the style. I loved the music. And I'll tell you what, I could tell you everything about every classic rock band ever because I had no life. And that's what I did. I really, really enjoyed it. So when I signed up for the Army, I was like, hey, man, they have broadcasting. This could be my big break, So I remember walking up to the guy and I said, well, son, what is it that you want to do? I said, well, I really want to be a broadcaster. And he just kind of stopped and looked at me. He goes, son, with that voice, you'll never make it.
Wow.
And I was like heartbroken. I was like, dude, are you killing me? So he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, I'll sign you up to be a journalist. So I ended up becoming a journalist in the Army.
Okay.
Again, I was 18, no college, no nothing, just ended up start writing. Because I wrote for the school newspaper, believe it or not. I wrote stories about Van Halen for the school newspaper. And it ended up becoming a thing that I did in the Army and loved it. And became pretty good at it to the point where I got what's called nominated for an overseas position. And I got to be a writer for the Stars and Stripes, which is the American military daily newspaper that serves the troops overseas. And I was in the European division and I really enjoyed that. I got a chance to travel Europe and write, not just about sports, but just write. But I was actually assigned to the sports department and ended up just doing a lot of sports and making connections and covered, believe it or not, that was when the NFL used to come over to Europe and play games in Europe before kind of the World League started and all that. So I kind of got my start with the World League of American Football, believe it or not, that old place. And I covered the Frankfurt Galaxy of all teams, where they were a great team. They were so much fun and it was really good. So it just led me on a career of writing. And again, sports writing was really a difficult business to break into. It was really hard to do that at such a high level. Because again, this is before blogs and podcasts and what have you. So, I took a job as a news writer and just became a news writer for, 10, 15, 20 years and just wrote news. I started off doing, your city water board meetings and the city school board meetings. I ended up moving up to doing crime reporting and did a lot with, different crimes and sort of things, and made a lot of connections there. And ended up doing some feature stories for the Business Journal, which was our business magazine here in town. And I got to cover, believe it or not, which is interesting, the Rams when they came to St. Louis. I got to cover that whole process, and that was pretty cool. But of course, now they're back with you guys.
Back
you
here
can
in
have
LA.
them. They're a mess. They're stink. You can take the whole damn mess.
It's funny you say that. I actually, when they came back to the Coliseum, lucky enough, we got season tickets and we started watching them. And, beginning wasn't very pretty. And I was like, man, did we actually win something here, or did St. Louis kind of win? Who won this whole trade-off? And, year or two later, they're in the Super Bowl. Things are good. We got the new SoFi Stadium down in Inglewood. That's a heck of a story to get to where you are now. And I'm just happy that we were able to meet on social media and get this connection going and get going on Sports Bums and whatnot.
My passion is sports, and I love it. So, I probably talk too much and go on too much about it, but I love it, man. It's something I do.
Exactly how I kind of got into this. I love talking about it. I love being able to just give my opinion, whether it's right, wrong, whatever you may think of it. I just feel like I can give you an idea. Maybe you can think about it and say, hey, maybe he has a point here. Maybe he doesn't, whatever it might be. Sports has been my whole life, playing it since 4 years old, all the way. I still play now. Not anything worth anything, Sunday League stuff, but still out there going at it and being as competitive as I can be. Competition right now is obviously the core right now in hockey because it's playoff time, right? We have a list of teams right here. We have our matchups. Would you mind giving me a little breakdown and maybe a little bit insight on what happened on these first games?
Sure.
Perfect.
If I could take 1 minute, though,
No
first,
problem.
I wanted to say rest in peace to Southern California hockey. I know you guys you're not in the playoffs this year, and it bums me out, but I will tell you, watch out for the Ducks. I think the Ducks will be a team in a couple of years that are going to be a real handful. They got some young guys who are playing really good. So we'll get to that, though, another time.
Perfect. So, actually, before we jump into the playoffs, with this COVID year, what really happened within the hockey regarding the playoffs?
Okay, so first of all, the old days was like almost, you had 30 teams, and basically everybody made the playoffs except for 3 drag teams that were never any good. Well, that all changed and became where they basically developed 4 divisions. The North Division, which was all the Canadian teams. And again, there are corporate names for them. I'm not even going to try to go there. I think it's Nova Scotia Bank or whatever. But so they had the North, they had the East Division, which was the New York Rangers. The New York Islanders, the teams on the East Coast. It's really the concept was to limit the amount of travel. So to really keep teams in a more of a regional pod sort of system that they could still have games, but not have to travel cross country and expose themselves to COVID, which of course now NHL's all their COVID cases are all popping up. It's insane. But so I think the way that so each team basically you played 8 games within your division. So in other words, if I'm in St. Louis, for instance, where I'm at, I went through a 2-week period where I saw nothing but the freaking Arizona Coyotes. You talk about that's boring. You know what I'm saying? It's that's a difficult way for fans who are kind of new to the game to be like, oh, wait a minute, didn't we play these guys 2 weeks ago? Oh no, we're playing them 4 more times, dude. You don't get used to it. And to me, I just that was just really the quirk of the schedule. And then games got rescheduled and can't just. It was a weird season in that way. So the way it all the way traditional rivalries of, so for instance, me in the Midwest, I was broken away from some of my traditional rivalries out in the East and in the in Chicago Blackhawks. It was a huge rivalry. Dallas Stars, big rivalry. Broken away from that, and I was thrown in with Las Vegas and Colorado in that old crowd. And again, that was. That became the division to beat. I mean, everybody, they were just beating the hell out of each other. So coming back to the original point is that the way they redesigned these divisions for this year really created, the teams playing each other a lot. So in other words, the good teams would beat up on the bad teams. They got good. They padded their records, and the records looked very impressive. The bad teams just looked terrible, and they got worse because they couldn't beat these good teams. So that's going on in every market that, if you're a bad market team, and you're on the bubble, you're probably not getting in, and you got to really, be able to beat the teams in your division. So right there, that just changed the whole playing field. So now what's going to happen is the top 4 teams in each of the divisions, again, the North, the East, the Western Division, and what they call the Central Division. The 4 teams, they'll all meet, and we'll go through those teams. Those 2 winners from those 4 games will meet in a divisional final, and then those 4 teams will be reseeded. That's what's confusing. So they get reseeded, and then that becomes the Stanley Cup, basically the semifinal tournament. So they'll go down to 4 teams. They'll do a semifinal tournament. Again, that'll include the Canadian team, and that might be, and if they have home ice advantage, it could be in an American city. I think there's no hope really to host Canadian games, I think, with cross-country travel. I know that's a big issue right now. But anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but I just want to give you the laying field because it's the old school. The old school, like everybody made it. It's like everybody made the playoffs. It's like what? But now it's not like that. There's a level of competition you have to be able to survive to get to the playoffs.
No, I think you hit it perfectly. It kind of explained it. Like I said, not a big hockey guy. So you gave me exactly the rundown I needed. It kind of correlates to last year's 2020 MLB season, where everybody's played within their division, and you'd play baseball. You have the NL, AL. NL West would play the AL West throughout the season, and kind of just stay within your area rather than cross country traveling and whatnot. So right here, I'm assuming this is our East Division. We have the number 1 seeded Penguins going against the number 4 Islanders. Series is tied 1-1. I believe the games were both close. Game 1 went into overtime. Can you kind of tell me what we should be looking for in this one?
Islanders are a really young, hot team. They've always been young and just really on the cusp. But this year they made a big trade at the trade deadline. Picked up a guy, Kyle Palmieri. He had a big game in the first game and scored a goal. But I got to tell you, the Pittsburgh Penguins are like the LA Lakers. You just don't bet against them. They got Sidney Crosby. He's doing great things. Just look up and down the roster. They definitely have the pedigree. They definitely know. So that, to me, I think no matter how competitive the Islanders are in that series, I think Pittsburgh's going to be the team to beat. In that, there's no way Pittsburgh's going to come out of that. So sorry about the background noise.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Is this a 5-game series, 7-game series? What are we looking at here?
It's a 7-game series. I'm sorry, it's a good point. 7-game series. Right now it's 1-1 as we're taping this. Again, I think there's going to be some games tonight.
There's a game tonight, yeah.
Not sure when these are going to come out, but the point is, they're right now it's competitive. It's a very competitive series. There's a couple series that we'll get to that are 0-2 or 2-0. But again, they're somewhat of a surprise. But again, the Penguins, all you need to know about the Penguins is, they got a great goalie and they got Sidney Crosby and a bunch of other guys who are just kick ass. So
I know all about Sidney Crosby. It sounds like he's been a lot healthier. I believe early in his career, a lot of health issues, concussions, different things like that. But it sounds like he's been doing a lot better over the past couple of years. Really good to see him on the ice.
One of the little storylines to watch with Sidney Crosby is he's kind of got a reputation as being a little bit of a dirty player. So if you're watching a Pens game, just kind of keep an eye on him. Sometimes they'll give the guys a cheap shot or kind of mug him into the ice. So that's always, he never gets called, but it's always fun to watch the Penguins play and watch Sidney Crosby get away with basically murder on the ice. So.
Would you say Crosby is like the golden child of NHL? Is he the LeBron James where he is the face? Or would you say there's somebody else maybe further down on this list that I have right here?
Well, I think he once was. He actually held that title for so many years. Mm-hmm. But, you have to look at, just there's a lot of hot young players coming up and a lot of big names and Ovechkin has a name right there. That guy is a stud. Where do you get to him? And, we talk about Tom Wilson, the big guy that everybody hates, Tom Wilson. Well, he's a player and he's been scoring goals. So, it's like there's a lot of marquee players. And this is the time of year, like you said, when people earn their contracts. Mm-hmm. And that's when they start making a name for themselves. So
agreed. Our next matchup here, the Ovechkin-led Capitals against the Bruins. Series is tied 1-1 here as well. They are also playing tonight. What's been going on in this series, and what should we be looking forward to?
That has just been a knockdown, bloody nose that is old school hockey. And I'll tell you why, because first of all, let's start with the Capitals. They got Zdeno Chara, who used to play for the Bruins, and he's a big 6'8" goon, just a bruiser, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's just so tough on that defensive line, and he just mugs guys. So he's been definitely in the game. But again, TJ Oshie, the guy who was the Olympic hero for the U.S. a few years ago, he's been playing really great for them. They got a good goalie. So the Caps are very well stocked. But again, I mean, the Boston Bruins are just they're one of I think they're these blessed teams of the NHL that they get all the calls. They don't, Brad Marchand's licking people in the face and stuff and doesn't get called. I mean, it's just like they just roll into it. So I think this is going to be an interesting series. I'm actually going to go on a limb and I'll go against my partner at Rinkside. She's from SoCal and she's from Boston originally.
Oh,
but
no.
I'm actually going to go against and say the Capitals are going to sting them. The Capitals are going to take them out.
Oh,
again, so the players to watch: Zdeno Chara, TJ Oshie, certainly Tom Wilson plays for the Caps. There's been a lot of focus on him because of his big hit a few weeks ago.
I was going to say that's your last article, correct?
Yeah,
a whole article about it.
Yep. So
perfect. So let's move.
Trust me, I could go on for an hour on each series.
Oh,
I
believe it. I believe it. Moving on to the next division here, we have the number 1 seeded Hurricanes taking on the Predators. Right now, the Hurricanes, I believe, are up 1-0.
Well, no, it's 2-0 now.
2-0 now. Perfect. So they played today, correct?
They play tonight, I believe. Yes.
All right. So they are up.
So,
Any ups? What's the percentage or what's the chances of an upset here for beating one? Predators to beat the Hurricanes.
Well, originally I picked the Panthers to be my Stanley Cup team, and that didn't happen. So, I really believe in Coach Q and believe in the coach that they brought in to kind of put them together. But they're down 0-2, and they're down to a team that's got Nikita Kucherov. There's a name you probably hear. He was basically out all season, and they packed him in ice, and suddenly, miraculously, he shows up for game 1 in the playoffs and scores a couple big goals for them. So, they got a good team, and they got a competitive team. And remember, they won it last year. They're the champs. So until someone knocks them off, they're the defending champs. So definitely keep an eye on Kucherov, Steven Stamkos. That's a name you'll hear a lot. The goalie is a guy named Andrei Vasilevsky. He's in line for some of the goaltending awards, the Venezia awards and stuff. So they got a really good team. So I think they're a team definitely to watch.
Moving on to the next one. Number 2 Panthers taking on, I believe this is Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, that's the one I'm sorry. I was just talking about that one.
You were talking about this one. I'm sorry. So then for the Hurricanes against Predators, what should we be looking for in that one?
So that one, I'll tell you, the Predators are coming in really hot, and they're a team that really has been playing the hottest hockey in the league. They've won, I think, 28 of their last 32 or something like that. They've been getting great goaltending by their goaltending Saros. Not George Soros, but Saros, a different guy, Yari Saros. Great goaltending. They got some veterans who've been kind of close to the Stanley Cup, but have never actually kissed it. So I think that they're maybe a year off, but they're going to be a good team. I'll tell you what, the Hurricanes are a really kind of a real deal, man. They got a good coach. They put it together. Their Storm Surge. Everybody loves the Storm Surge after they win. So I think they're a fun team. I think they're going to be kind of America's sweethearts as they keep winning. But the fact is, they got Dougie Hamilton plays defense, and he's leading the league. So there's a couple names to kind of watch for those guys. Okay.
Perfect. So we got one more, or actually we had 2 more divisions. Moving on to number 1 Avalanche going against your Blues. Series is 1-0 right now, in favor of Avalanche, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
What's going on here? What's going on with your Blues?
Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, you got the big hit that their leading point getter, David Perron, little French guy from Montreal, been in the league a long time. I think he played in Southern California. Really a heart and soul kind of guy of the team. Look, I put on the COVID list, and you take the leading scorer out, and that just really shook everybody up.
Yep.
The Avalanche just really dominated that game. They won their third period. It was a pretty competitive game, but the third period they just took off and really dominated. So St. Louis needs somebody to step up. I'm not sure who that'll be. They got a ton of scorers, names you would have heard of. Vladimir Tarasenko is a name you might have heard of. A guy named Ryan O'Reilly. He's the captain. You may have heard of him. David Perron. The goalie's Jordan Bennington. He's the mouthy guy that always seems to get in fights with other goalies. He's pretty good. He's been having a good playoff. But boy, the Avalanche, Nathan McKinnon That's the name you need to hear. He's an MVP candidate, and he's legitimate. I would say, one of the top 3 players in the league, and he scores a lot of goals. And I'll tell you what, the guy is good at hockey. He's unstoppable.
Flat out great at hockey. Love it. Next one, the Vegas Golden Knights going against Minnesota Wild. Series is 1-1. Kind of surprising. These Knights are still new to the league, and we've seen them in the playoffs the past couple of years. What's going on over there in Vegas? Why have they been so successful?
Well, this is actually a fun story because to the casual fan, they don't really know this, but the league has definitely helped the Vegas Knights out. They've given them the pick of the litter from all the other teams, and they've been able to not protect draft picks and all kinds of things that they put in place. And these are actually rules that they're not putting in place for the new Seattle franchise. They kind of learned their lesson, and people are like, wait a minute, you guys made these guys a contender right out of the box. So that's not really going to happen. I don't think at least with the new Seattle Kraken, they're the new team that's coming in the league. They're going to have to kind of earn their stripes. But let's get back to the Golden Knights. The thing you got to know about them is that they are loaded with veteran talent. I mean, guys who've been in the league, guys who've been Warriors, guys who've been in conference finals. Mark Stone, that's a guy you'll hear. He's an MVP candidate. Marc-Andre Fleury's the goalie. He's set all kinds of records, so you'll definitely hear his name. Minnesota is a good team. I think they just, like the Blues, got kind of thrown in a really bad division, in a really tough division. Again, but I'll tell you, in the regular season, the Wild kind of has had Vegas's number. So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole series plays out. But again, with the Wild, you got to watch for the thrill. That's Kaprizov. That's Kirill Kaprizov. He's a Russian kid, came from the KHL. He just is one of these guys who makes amazing goals. He's number 97. They call him the Thrill. And he's he's worth the price of admission. So he's a great player. They also have some great veterans, but watch him just for the thrill. He's sweeping the hockey world.
You make me want to have to go on and watch these games right now.
Check out his highlights. They're great.
I'm definitely going to have to do that one. Lastly, we have our Canadian division. I believe you called it North Division.
Yeah,
Actually, hasn't kicked off yet due to some COVID tests coming out. They're supposed to start tonight. Let's start with the first seed, though. Maple Leafs going against the Canadiens. Series actually kicks off tomorrow, which would be Thursday the 19th, I believe.
Sure.
Who's the favorite here? What should we be looking for? And I love that you've been telling us what names to watch, because now when I turn on the TV, I'm going to actually know what I'm watching.
The kind of guys to watch. But this game is really interesting because for all the history and tradition and all this stuff in Canada, and everybody's blah, blah, blah about, the red and the blue and, the French speaking against the English speaking, it comes down to the Maple Leafs are freaking good. Okay. They got Austin Matthews, who's, just the goals leader this year. Definitely a guy that you would definitely want to watch, and you'll definitely be hearing his name. He'll be on the highlight reel almost every night. He also has Mitch Marner, who's also a legitimate top-level player who's really come into his own. You'll just look through the roster. They made some big acquisitions, and they got Joe Thornton, who's a veteran who played for San Jose for a while. The grandpa guy has that big old grandpa beard. You can't miss him. So they're an interesting team. To get John Tavares. He was the big free agent signing last year. Came from the Islanders. It might have been 2 years ago, but came from the Islanders and was a big addition for the Maple Leafs. And they were supposed to win it last year. Again, they got shocked in the first round. So that brings us to the Canadiens. Again, no matter what, everybody loves the Canadiens. They love it because they're French and all that. Well, they're not very good. Okay. They'll be okay. They maybe win one game or two, but they're not very good. They got some pretty good goaltending with Carey Price and Jake Allen. That's a 1-2 sort of combo, and both have won Stanley Cups. Actually, I'm not sure if I think Carey Price has won Stanley Cup. Jake Allen won a Stanley Cup with the Blues. So they got definitely good goaltending, but boy, they've just been spotty. They've been trying to play young players. They got some aging players who are not really sure what to do with. So I say on this game, definitely watch it for the pageantry and the back and forth with the crowds and all that stuff. That'll be really cool. But when it comes down to the actual hockey game, expect the Maple Leafs to kind of roll over them. They just got a better team.
All right. Leading us to our last matchup here. Let's see if I get this right. The Edmonton Oilers going against the Winnipeg Jets. Did I get
Yes.
them? I got
Yeah.
them. You see, I know a little bit.
Yeah.
Starting off
Well,
tonight, series starts
this,
tonight. What should we
this
be
is a
looking
great
for?
game. I mean, I think that number one, people, because Winnipeg's maybe not a marquee team and they don't have marquee names, they are really a solid team. And I'll tell you what, the Blues eliminated them 2 years ago, and they really had us on the brink. And a lot of those players are in their second, third year. Connor Hellebuck's their goalie, and he's really good. So again, if you end up tuning in that game, just kind of watch their goaltending. Connor Hellebuck's really good. They got a guy on their defense named Adam Lowry. He's a big bruiser. He's been in the league about 7-8 years, so he's a guy to kind of watch. But I'll tell you what, I mean, the marquee name, there's two marquee names here, and that's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So Connor McDavid, let me start with Leon Draisaitl. He's from Germany. He's a German guy, came in the league. He's been like the number 2 guy there and just a playmaker. And I think really underrated. And just when these guys, whenever he's on the ice, things happen. He's kind of the assist man who does a lot of setup for Connor McDavid. He's kind of the golden boy. He's the guy that meets with Gretzky and they have photo ops together.
Oh, wow.
But again, Edmonton's a franchise that's very steeped in tradition, and the fan base is insane about hockey. So they definitely connect. Connor McDavid with Wayne Gretzky, and so that's going to be a special kind of series. So what I'm actually looking forward to is if the Maple Leafs end up playing the Oilers in the next round, that would be a real knock 'em drag out fight because, boy, you talk about two teams that can just light up the scoreboard and two scorers who are just electrifying to watch, Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews. I mentioned Nathan McKinnon, he'd probably be the number 3, but those are, if you like offensive hockey and scorers, definitely tune into those guys and watch those guys for that Jets game. But again, I think the Oilers have a little bit more than the Jets can handle, but the Oilers are a good team. And I just think that because of the way the divisions all shook out, maybe people didn't give them as much credit, but they definitely have a winning tradition. They've been building towards this for several years, so they could be a surprise team.
So we went through our list here. You kind of gave me who should win. Are there any upsets that maybe we should be looking out for throughout all these games, or should it be the best team should be walking out of these matchups?
As much as I want to say the underdog should win, and I think it's going to be the way the seeds shook out the way the finals will be. So I think the number 1 seeds from each division will end up being in that final 4. I could be wrong, the teams could come back and, things happen. But I just think when you look at the style of play, like for instance, Vegas, to me, they're definitely a Stanley Cup contender. And I think really the semifinal to watch would be if Vegas and the Avalanche play. That'll be a game that'll really be for the ages, and that'll be a series that'll go 7 games. Again, I'm hoping my Blues catch the Avalanche, but in reality, I'm not sure that'll happen. But that'll be a series you definitely want to tune in. That'll be appointment TV. And again, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, appointment TV there. So in terms of upsets, I'm not seeing it, but I think the teams that are seated high that should win or favored to win will win.
Love it. Love it. Before we start wrapping up here, I have some rapid fire questions for you. Let's see if you can hit these for me.
We'll try it.
So, as you already mentioned, I had it here, but favorite team and why?
My favorite team is St. Louis Blues, just because I grew up with St. Louis, and I remember my grandpa bringing us to games. And the team was actually founded the year I was born. Believe it or not, I'm giving away my age here, but I grew up with the team. They were here ever since I've been born, so they're kind of my team. Win or lose, usually lose, but win too.
Favorite player?
My favorite player of all time or currently?
All time.
So I'm a really big fan of a guy named Pavel Dimitra that he played. He was a Russian guy, came over and played for the Blues for many years and never really won the cup, but was really always in the scoring race, was just a heart and soul player. And he actually became assistant coach with the Slovakian national team. And his plane crashed and he died and perished along with everybody on the plane. And I just remember him as such a great player and such a great Blue, and just gave his heart and soul, even though they came up short. So I love him. I love a guy named Brett Hold. You may have heard of him as well. So,
wow. So if you were the GM of the Kraken and they gave you the opportunity to select any 2 players in the league right now to start your franchise, who are you taking?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Again, obviously with protected list and all that. That's kind of,
No
but if I
protected
just
list,
dare
no
to
nothing.
dream, I think I'd have to say, I think I probably would pick up Connor McDavid. He would be my number one guy and bring him and just say, hey, man, here's the offense. We're going to design it around you. Now on defense, I think that's going to be a question that they're going to be, is Tom Wilson the new prototype defenseman, this big goon type that just beats people down? What is the new defenseman? Is a defenseman a guy that scores goals? That's, that is kind of what Tom Wilson does, but is a defenseman more of a stay-at-home guy that just beats ass, and takes care of business? So
Yeah.
a lot of teams are struggling with what sort of identity they want to have on defense. And in certain divisions, again, in certain games, you can get away with it. That's why you see so many guys go in and out of lineups, and this guy gets sat one night, another guy gets sat another night, because he might be an offensive defenseman. In other words, he plays defense, but he's better on the push, where other guys know, hey, man, we're going up against the top scorers in the league. We need to have some more defensive help, so we'll have some bigger beef on the line. So a lot of fans don't really understand why guys go in and out, and a lot of times it is for performance, and coaches are just like, hey, this guy's playing like junk, let's get him out.
Yeah.
But the other time, it affects the strategy and how they match up their lines with the other teams and stuff. So
fair enough. If I watched hockey for the first time tomorrow, who should be my favorite player?
For me, again, I'm going to say the Thrill. The Kirilla the Thriller, man, because he just has acrobatic goals. He's a guy that scores on breakaways. He scores on wraparounds. He's got a one-timer. He's just he's one of those really once in a lifetime, because that's kind of, I think that's overstated, but he is a really special talent, and I think he brings a lot of excitement to hockey. I know his Twitter goes crazy. If you ever look him up on Twitter, he's got a real funny Twitter. He's kind of a guy that really appreciates his role in life. He doesn't take it too seriously. And there's obviously several fake Twitter accounts that are really funny. So the Thrill, I think that's a player to definitely watch. And of course, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, I would definitely put them in there.
All-time greatest player.
For me, I'm going to have to say Wayne Gretzky. I mean, just he played for so long at such a high level. And there's a time, make a long story short, when I was a lot younger, I got a chance to go to the Blues game, and a friend of mine, his mom, had worked for some corporation and got us really good tickets, like right down by the ice, like second row in the ice. And they were playing the Kings. And it was when Gretzky was playing with Rob Blake, and they, just to watch those guys on the ice from such a really, up close level, how they were really quarterbacks of the ice, and how they really directed everything. All the plays went through them. That just fascinated me. And I was like, man, this guy, I just had a ton of respect for him, because even when he's getting beaten over the head, he's directing the offense over, and he was definitely the most vocal guy on the ice. And I never would have had that perspective if I would have sat in section 342, which I normally do,
No, I get it. The jersey today is actually Gretzky as well. I know that, at least from the outside, it looks like he's the standard. He is the MJ of hockey. He is the mantle of baseball.
But like the MJ, there's always somebody. We got this guy. Good. So there's a ton of names out there, and there'll be a ton of names as the game goes along. That's part of the fun of it,
Agree.
But yeah. So
agree. Last question before we start making our way out of here. Will we see you on the show for round 2? We need to make sure we get our preview before round 2 starts. Oh yeah, no, you'll be getting your preview for sure. So I'm definitely working on a piece about number 1, the players of watch, kind of recap of what we talked about, and then I'm kind of waiting. I think tonight's gonna be a really key night on what happens with a lot of the series, because I think, as I say, tonight and tomorrow will be real very telling for the whole, the entire league. So definitely tune in tonight, or just check out the scores tomorrow, or watch the highlights. So I think that'll give you a key as to who's really going to start coming out of these series. But definitely, I think towards the end of the week, I'll have something for you guys, and look forward to. I always love when people send comments and retweet. I interact, I retweet, I love, all that stuff. So I appreciate my fans. I don't have many of them, but I appreciate it, because I enjoy talking about it. The list of fans is growing for you. I know it's gonna hit. Rob, I want to say thank you for coming on with us. Thank you for everything you've done for Sports Bums. I really appreciate you taking the time. Before we head out, where can I find you on Twitter? Let everybody know. So I run, it's called @RealBrock, BROCK, Banna, BANNE, the number 1. I know I hate that it's like that. I wish it was easier,
But it's a long story, and that's what I'm going for. But eventually next year, I'm going to transition into Rinkside Media that are called the Rinkside Report. So you can definitely follow me there because I'm tweeting there as well as in my own. So Rinkside Report and Brock Banner is my my writing pen name at one time.
Perfect. Don't forget, guys, not only can you find him at sportsbums.com, where you can find him on the Puck Handler, great articles, but you can find him on rinksidemedia.com, stlouisfanreport.com, and also thehockeywriters.com. Again, Rob, thank you so much for coming on with us. Guys, make sure you guys find this episode anywhere podcasts are streamed, Going Deep with Matthew and Jeremy.com, and of course, it'll be on sportsbums.com.
Can I say one thing though?
What do you got?
You guys are in South California.
Correct.
I want to say thank you or hello to my good friend Albert Pujols, and I hope he just smacks the cover out of the ball out there and makes everybody believe that he's going to be one of the greatest players to ever walk this planet. And I hope you guys in LA see that this weekend.
Oh, so as people know, big Dodger fan here. I've been watching him all week. He had a big hit opening on his Dodger debut, base hit up the middle, RBI. Dodgers ended up winning 3-1 that day. You're already seeing him mentoring, whether it's the hitters, talking to the pitchers, hey, go out there, just throw your stuff. I faced you. You're nasty, whatever it might be. I think he's going to have a big impact on this season just because with all the injuries the Dodgers have right now, we have a lot of young guys, and nobody knows how to hit a baseball better than Albert Pujols.
I'll tell you, whether you like him as a player or not, I don't know if that I respect a professional athlete more than Albert Pujols for the humanitarian efforts and things that he's done. I won't get into all that. Definitely, if people are interested in that, look this guy up because he's legit and he puts his money where his mouth is. And I have a friend who does work for him, and my friend just has never said a bad word about him. Says he's an honest guy that really works hard and loves the fans. So I'm jealous. I wish we had him back here in St. Louis, but he's going to do great for you guys. And I hope the fans really welcome him.
Oh, he's already being welcomed. I'm seeing Pujols jerseys everywhere. It looks like everybody's excited to have him here. And we don't consider Anaheim to be LA, so it's nice for him to actually be here in LA, repping the Dodger blue. I said, I'm really excited to see his impact. It's not going to only impact this season because I think his impact's going to have a long-term effect with these young Dodger guys. Mainly, I'm really hoping, fingers crossed,
and
that Gavin Lux is on him.
As we get close to middle of June, we call it Flag Day. June 14th is Flag Day. That's when we know if our Cardinals are going to be any good. So if they're any good, I'm going to be talking a lot of smack about your Dodgers. Buddy.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I think St. Louis is going to be pretty good. I like Arenado.
Arenado, 4 home runs in 4 games.
I know. But I can't put too much on the Cardinals just because I can't like them here. I can't like them. So I'm going to give them credit and say they're a good squad over there. I expect to see them in the playoffs, but I can't give them too much credit quite yet.
You know what? Let's not even put the cart before the horse. They got to get there, and there's a lot of good teams in their way.
Oh, of course. Guys, make sure you listen to this podcast on Going Deep with MatthewandJeremy.com, on Sports Bums, anywhere podcasts are streamed. And as always, everybody, much love.